Hi everyone, welcome to Dictionaries and Input lecture. So in this lecture we're going to cover 5 different examples. So a dictionary has a key with a key value separated by a colon. So here's an example where we have a dictionary and it starts with these curly braces. Then we have a key, in this case a string of A, and then we have the key value 10 and it's separated by this colon here. So keys can be either strings or integers. And dictionaries can have nested lists, tuples, or even other dictionaries. Okay, so let's take a look at our first example. Right, so we have D for a dictionary. And if I were to do, let's say, type, and we do D, we get dict for a dictionary. Okay, so what I like to do is put some values in. So I will do D, and then we put in a key, and then I'm going to put in a value here of 10. And I'll put it on the same line just to save some space. B equals 20, and then we'll do C equals 30, and then we do D. Okay, great. So you can see that I have the keys with the respective key values of 10, 20, and 30 here. All right, so let's say I like to get one of the values. So I'll do, let's say, B, and you can see I have 20 here. I can also change it, so I could put in, let's say, 100, and now I do D. You can see that the B has changed to 100, and that's because dictionaries, unlike tuples, are mutable. Okay, so let's say I like to update my dictionary another way. So I could do d.update, and I can actually add in another dictionary. So I could do D as well. And we'll put in, let's say, 200, and I'll put in E, I'll put in 500. Okay, great. So you can see that I have D and E here as well. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the other methods or functions for a dictionary. So if I do D dots and hit tab, you can see I have clear all the way down to values. So let's get the values here. If I do values for a dictionary, we just get the values, which in this case are the integer values of 10 all the way to 500. And similarly, I could do, instead of what we had with, let's say, B, and get 100. So another way of doing this with just dot get. And I'll do B, and you can see you have the exact same output of 100. Okay, and lastly, let's do items. And what it does is generates a list with tuples of each of the key value pairs. All right, so let's take a look at the second example. So we're going to convert a dictionary. So we have these two variables, T1 and V1. So a tuple and a list, and I want to convert it into a dictionary. So the way to do that is we'll have zip, and we'll put in, let's say, V1, and then we'll put in T1 as well. And then we have to just simply do dict, and this is going to be converted into a dictionary, as you can see here. Okay, so there's other ways of going about this, but it's outside the scope of this particular lecture, and that's to do with dictionary comprehension, but we'll leave it for another time. Okay, so let's take a look at the third example. So we're going to be looking at nested dictionaries, inputs, keys as integers, and so on. Okay, so I have a dictionary here of menu. And what I'd like to do is have some nested dictionaries for more information about each of these items, the noodles, the curry, and the salad. So instead, what I can do, I'm just going to hold the control button, or if you're a Mac user, hold the command button. And then I'm going to put in here price with a colon to separate it. And then I'm going to put in some more information. So just holding the control button, then selecting with the cursor. And I'll put in here, let's say, quantity. I'll put in 4. And then I'll do orders. So instead, I'm going to have a list. And I'll just close that out like this. Okay, great. So now you can see I've got a lot more information for each of them. So for example, if I were to do noodles, I can get all this information, the price, the quantity, and the orders. So I've got no orders at the moment. So what I can do is I'll do, let's say, dish equals inputs, and this allows us to actually add something for the user. So we'll have here dish, and then I'm going to, let's say we do an index of orders, and then we'll do dot append. And I'm going to put in, actually, what I'll do is just dish itself for now. Okay, so I'll put in, let's say, noodles. And you can see I have the price, the quantity, and the orders. So let's say I do another one. I could do, let's say, salad, and so on. So the output is just, of course, this here, the output of salad is just a string. But it can also be other things like integers. Okay, so what I could also do is orders. I'm just going to comment this out. So we have an empty list, so I could simply do dot append, put in, let's say, 10, menu, and you can see at the bottom here for our salad we have 10, and I can put in, let's say, another number, let's say 4, and so on. Alright, so let's move on to the fourth example. So nested string. So what I'd like you to do is just pause the video and see if you can get the found you string. Right, so I'm just going to actually break this down a little bit more easily for you to see. So we have K1, K2, K3, and then we have this nested K4. So pause the video and see if you can actually get just this value from the maze. Okay, so hopefully you gave that a go. So all we have to do here is just get K3 first. Oops, I just need to define that. Okay, and then after that we do 0, 1, 2, and 3. And then from there we do K4. And then from there it's quite straightforward, 0, 1, 2, and 3 again. And we have found you. Okay, great. So let's move on to our final example here. So this is very similar to a conditional statement, and you'll see what conditional statements are like in another lecture. But for now, what we have here is just D3. And if I were to do D3, you can see we have these as integer values. So I can select this way. And let's say, for example, I want to know if x, which is equal to 2, is in our D3. So all I have to do is d3.get, then I'll put in x, and then we'll put in default x is not in dictionary. Okay, so we know that the x is equal to 2, so we have x is 2. If I put in, let's say, 20 though, we get default x is not in dictionary. Okay, so we could also do this another way, where we could have, let's do n, and we'll do inputs, puts a number for x, and then all I have to do here is just put in n instead, or in fact what I will do is just change this to, put this to x here. Okay, and if I put in, let's say, 1, well, you can see it doesn't work. And the reason for that is because we take a look at the inputs, the actual value, it's a string. So what we need to do is convert that into an integer. So we'll just do int, like so, and I put in 1, then we have x is 1. And if I check here, you can see that x is now the actual number 1. Alright, so that concludes my lecture on dictionaries. I hope that's been insightful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thanks.